Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/am I the asshole for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading the post, giving you my thoughts and opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Bellanella 10. Am I the asshole for calling out my husband's friend after he made inappropriate comments about my son's paternity? I, 23 female, have been married to my husband, Alex, 27 male, for 2 years, and we have a 10-month-old son, Dylan. Alex has a friend named Mike, 27 male. They've been best friends since high school. From my first encounter, I did not like Mike. He's really childish, likes to be the center of attention, and has a crude sense of humor. It's like he never got out of his frat boy phase. All of my husband's friends are married or in long-term relationships, whereas Mike has never been in a long-term relationship or has brought any woman around. He's also made some weird comments towards me that made me uncomfortable. My husband has a deep bond with Mike, and they often go on hunting trips or have boys' nights. I've never tried to keep my husband from hanging out with his friend, but I have limited my contact with Mike as much as possible since we've been together. Mike came over to pick up my husband to go golfing. I was holding our baby when I answered the door. Mike greeted us at the door, asked to hold my baby, and was cooing at him. Then he said, "Hey there, man, come to Papa." And my husband and Mike started laughing. A bit of background. I have brown hair and blue eyes, and my husband has black hair and brown eyes. Our son's hair is coming in blonde, and he has blue eyes. Mike has blondish hair and blue eyes. I was a bit caught off guard by it, but ignored his comment. Mike then said, "He looks like me, maybe he's mine." And my husband and Mike continued to laugh. I was obviously not amused. I told Mike to hand me my son and then told him, "Not in a million years, and no woman with sense would want you." Neither my husband nor Mike laughed at my comment, and Mike just made a face before he and my husband left. Later, my husband told me I took it too far with Mike, that Mike was just joking, but I made it personal. I told him those comments were disrespectful to me as his wife and the mother of his child. He then said it's obviously not true, so why am I so upset when I know how Mike is? In my opinion, not the asshole. Now, I understand that Alex and Mike might have that relationship, but the important part of it is that OP is uncomfortable by the comments being made. Just because it is obviously a joke doesn't mean there is still some deep-rooted implications that are uncomfortable for OP in the moment. I mean, I know that I'd be really uncomfortable if my friend started joking with my partner like, "Yeah, I slept with your wife and that's my son," because that is the root of the joke there. I mean, think about it if the roles were reversed here and Alex was the one coming onto Reddit and posting this because his wife and Mike made a joke about how the child is secretly Mike's, and the wife made the joke about it and laughed about it. Because what this really boils down to is not the fact that a joke was made, it's the fact that it makes OP uncomfortable, and they have every right to express their discomfort with that joke. And the weirdest part is this literally boils down to Mike saying, "Hey, maybe we fucked and that's my kid." Wife replies, "That wouldn't happen in a million years." And the husband for some reason goes, "Whoa now, let's not be too harsh to Mike there." Like, yeah, that's a really weird scenario to be in. No Sherbert 7460. Am I the asshole? My husband made himself a frozen meal for lunch and complained it was disgusting and threw it away. I felt bad and I offered to let him have one that I had been saving for myself, only to discover that what he had thrown away was my lunch. I then got upset at him and told me to pick a lane. So every now and then I buy a random frozen meal to keep on hand for lunch emergencies. I had one in the freezer for a month. My husband saw it a few weeks ago and asked if that was his, because he can't remember anything he buys or adds to the grocery list. And I said, "No, that's mine." Fast forward to yesterday. I hear him nuking something in the kitchen, then he loudly declares it's absolutely disgusting, tosses it down the sink, and starts whining about not having lunch. I hadn't eaten that frozen meal, and I did not think I would need it this week. So I thought, well, if I let him have it, he'll have something to eat, and I'll just grab another one next time I'm at the store. I offer him the meal I was saving. He asks which one. I say, "The white bean chicken chili." He goes, "That's what I just threw away." Cue my rage. "Wait, you took my lunch without asking and then threw it away when you didn't like it." He says, "You wouldn't have liked it. It was completely different from chili." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. It's white bean chicken chili. It's not supposed to be like regular chili. That's why I bought it." His response, "Well, it was disgusting." I said, "You didn't even check what it was. Didn't remember it was mine, and when you didn't like it, you threw it away instead of asking me about it." He goes, "But you offered it to me." I reply, "Yeah, I offered it to you because I thought you had nothing else. But now that I know you just grabbed my meal without asking and didn't even eat it and threw it out instead, and did not even ask if I wanted it when you decided you were not going to eat it, I'm a little pissed." He then got mad and started telling me that I was setting him up, that no matter what he did, he was in the wrong and I was being unreasonable. He told me to pick a lane. I tried to explain why I was mad and said, "Imagine you heard me complaining about something I recently bought and I decided I didn't like it, so I just threw it away. Then you have this gift card you've been saving for yourself, and you say, 'I was saving this for myself, but since you already spent your money on something you didn't like, you can have my gift card to buy something better.' So I go, 'Oh, well, thanks, but I already used your gift card to buy the thing I didn't like and threw away. I saw it lying on the counter, so I just used it.' My question is, am I the asshole because I got mad at him after I discovered what he ate, and he took my lunch and then threw it away, even though there was a brief moment where he appeared to have nothing to eat for lunch, so I offered him mine?" Update. OP here, providing some basic answers. We've been together for nearly 20 years, we are in our late 40s, early 50s. He is older. Grocery shopping is done like this. I make a list of things I want/need for myself and for recipes I plan on making. He does the same and I add them to our communal list. I go to the store and buy everything once a week. Same day every week, as this is how my schedule allows. He'll usually go to the store separately on his own multiple times a week, at least 3 days, usually 4, because he wants one specific thing or forgot to add something to the list or ran out of something and buys things for himself. These could be snacks, frozen lunches, or once in a while something we communally run out of and need ASAP to cook dinner with, or something like that. He usually buys enough frozen meals or relies on leftovers for lunch. I do something similar, except most of the time, I do not rely on frozen things. I take time to prepare lunch each day: sandwich, omelet, random snacks, leftovers. Every week, when I do the grocery shopping, I plan what I'm having that week for lunches and ensure I buy the things I need. The frozen things I buy usually one of to keep on hand in an emergency, such as I have no time to prepare a lunch and need to quickly throw something in the microwave. That is why I tend to buy just one every once in a while, and it sits there like a spare tire in the trunk of a car. Also, I tend to always buy something that I know he won't enjoy, to deter him from eating it because he'll just eat whatever is there, even if I say, "Oh hey, I was saving that." I have to do the same with snacks. If I buy a bag of chips or a box of crackers, he will just plow through it in a day. My workaround there is to either not buy snack food for myself or go to extremes to find things he will not eat, like the one flavor he hates. This happens a lot. Like, I buy a certain type of protein bar that I use during my workouts and he'll eat them, like they're candy bars. And then when I go to grab one for my workout, empty box. And if I ask him to please make sure he replaces them if he's going to eat them all, he gets angry and says he should not have to ration food. I told him it was not rationing, it was simply making sure that if I buy something for a specific meal or purpose for myself, that I expect it to be there when I need it. This is an ongoing debate between us, and I am trying to not turn it into a hill to die on. As to history, he most likely has undiagnosed ADD. We're older Gen X, these things were not recognized as often when we were growing up. He has all the classic signs. He's also academically brilliant and can often block everything out, sounds, things in his visual line of sight, when he is laser focused on something that is cognitively engaging. So he very likely forgot that I said it was mine. However, he could not read the label clearly. Also, it had been in the freezer for a month, so I assumed he knew that was my backup emergency lunch. Finally, when he does not like the taste of something, he does tend to overreact in a very dramatic way, like gagging, screaming as if one was being poisoned as opposed to just quietly going, "Gross, not gonna eat this." I sometimes wonder if he's also on the spectrum because he has quite visceral yet unusual reactions to very specific stimulations, such as when the smoke alarm goes off, when he does not like the taste of something. Whereas I would just deal, he has a rather over-the-top reaction. So OP's husband made a comment about how he's being set up to fail, and for some of you who might recall, We did have a story a little bit ago about a husband who I believe was set up to fail with the whole cookie incident. In that one, no matter if you were in the mindset of the wife was in the right or the husband was in the right, the husband still attempted to make things right and offered to fix the mistake that he had made. While in this situation, that was not the case. And while I do understand the logic of, you offered the meal to me, so why does it matter that I had already eaten it, didn't like it, and threw it away? This can be explained in two scenarios. In the first scenario, let's say he did eat the meal, liked it, finished it, and probably would have forgotten to tell the wife that he had done so. So now when the wife goes to actually go find her frozen meal, it's gone, and this just compounds to issues like the protein bar. So that's where that first issue comes. She would not have known that her frozen meal was gone. The second issue/scenario comes into play when he did take the bite and didn't like it and decided just to immediately dump it down the sink when his wife had offered him that meal. And if he had gone and made that meal and took that bite and didn't like it, his wife still could have eaten that meal because that is something that she would have enjoyed. And also his reasoning of, well, you wouldn't have liked it anyways, doesn't quite apply because everyone has different palates, and he thought that a white bean chicken chili would have been like a classic American pot chili. So he just assumed that because he didn't like it, his wife also wouldn't like it. The thing is much like the cookie story, if the husband had realized he fucked up and like, oh shit, I did not mean to eat your frozen lunch, I'm going to go get you a new one, and the wife had instead said something like, nope, it's fine, don't even bother, I would have said the wife was the asshole in that instance. But because the husband doubled down on his mistake, that makes him the asshole. Because the thing is we're human. We all make mistakes, we all have fuck-ups. What matters is how we actually go about fixing that fuck-up and doing what we can to make things right, and to not let our low points define us. But the moment that someone gets combative and they decide to try and justify their mistake, that's where the problem comes in. One screen 4996. Am I the asshole for not letting my in-laws use my son's SSN to continue getting food from food banks? Before we even start, I used to do a lot of volunteer work at the Idaho Food Bank, and they've never required a social security number. Like, the point of the food bank is ease of access for your needs. It's never been tied to... I think I'm overanalyzing what is obviously identity theft by the grandparents, so let's get into the story. My husband, 30 male, and I, 31 female, recently received a phone call from my father-in-law, 54 male. Apparently, for some time, they've been going to the food banks to help out since my mother-in-law, 53 female, won't work, since getting diagnosed with COPD. They've been telling the food banks that they've been taking care of their grandson, my son. The food bank has allowed giving them food, but just recently asked them for my son's social security number so that they can continue getting food from them. My in-laws have not been taking care of my son because we live over 500 miles away from them. We were shocked by them asking for our son's social security number because obviously the answer is no. My husband texted them back telling them, no, it's not going to happen, and they have yet to even respond. Am I the asshole for wanting to take this further and report them to this food bank for fraud and identity theft? Update, we have found the food bank and they do not take social security numbers. So we've locked and checked everything to make sure our son's identity is safe and ours as well. No SSN was given to them because we know better than to jeopardize our identity and our son's identity. We're going to confront them about what we've found and see if they will give us the truth so we can see where we need to go from here. Thank you all for your advice and even the negative feedback. It has helped us find a conclusion to this crazy mess. Final update with several red exclamation marks. So we have yet to get a response about the situation, but I explained what happened to my best friend and she agreed it was shady. We were thinking they were on drugs since this was such a shady situation. Some digging happened and some information was exchanged, leaving names and how the exchange happened out. Turns out that mother-in-law was going to start work again, but then they got food stamps, so she stopped trying to get a job. But the food stamps got denied, so they were trying to get back on by trying to get approved once again. We put the dots together and found out they were actually going to try to use my son so they can get food stamps. It would be a different story if they were actually taking care of my son, which they are not. I'm half tempted to bring this information to my in-laws and let them know that I know why they were trying to get my son's SSN, and that they have been caught in a major lie and will probably never receive any more help from us. we did not report them because nothing happened. Other members of the family are okay and safe from this happening to them. We will probably never get a response back from them about the situation, but they will most likely be asking for help soon enough, which my husband and I agreed that we are no longer helping in any way. Thank you all for your comments. This will be the last of this post. So just in general, as just kind of a general PSA, if you have kids and your parents are suddenly asking for their social security number, never give that out. A lot of very selfish grandparents will take the mentality of, oh, I can just run up a massive amount of debt on their social security number because by the time that they're 8 or 9, it'll be off their record and they won't even know. So sometimes, and we've seen this a lot in r/boomers being fools, they have the weird entitled feeling that they should be allowed to run up thousands and thousands of dollars of debt in the name of their grandchild just because no one will ever know and it's just free money. It'll be off their debt. No one's gonna come and collect for it. You know, just some pretty poor logic like that. Thankfully though, this wasn't the case in this instance. Instead, they were just trying to commit food stamp fraud, if that's even the name for it. But honestly, I was half expecting for them to try to go for the sob story of, oh, well, we need a social security number for the food bank so we can get food, and then run up like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars in credit card debt. But yeah, definitely not the asshole for preventing your son from getting his identity stolen. Wooden Confidence 58. Am I the asshole for making my neighbor pay my vet bills after their harmless dog almost killed mine? Okay, so I, 19 female, live in a quiet neighborhood with my little dog. He's a 6-year-old terrier mix and literally the sweetest, most harmless dog ever. My neighbor has this huge golden retriever that they're obsessed with, always going on about how he's a gentle giant and wouldn't hurt a fly. Well, tell me why last month their angel nearly murdered my dog. I was just walking my dog on a leash like a responsible human past their house when their off-leash dog sprints out their front door because they just left it wide open like absolute idiots and full-on attacks my dog. This thing grabbed my dog by the neck and started shaking him like a chew toy. My dog was screaming. I was screaming. I literally had to pry this beast off my dog while my neighbor just strolled over like it was some minor inconvenience. Like, hello? My dog was bleeding, shaking, in total shock. I rushed him to the emergency vet and he needed stitches, surgery, the whole thing. The bill was over $3,000, so obviously I go to my neighbor like, hey, your dog nearly killed mine, you need to pay this. And this psycho laughs and goes, oh, he was just playing. Your dog probably freaked out for no reason. I'm sorry, did you just say playing? Playing? Like, I tried to be civil, but they completely ignored me for weeks. So I took them to small claims court. And guess what? I won. And now they're pissed, acting like I'm some evil villain for making them take responsibility for their dog. Even some of my other neighbors are saying I overreacted and it was a harmless incident. Just, what? Like, am I missing something? Their dog nearly killed mine, and I'm the bad guy for not eating a $3,000 bill? Am I actually crazy, or are these people completely out of their mind? So yeah, OP's not the asshole in the slightest here. I really hope they got photos, because if they showed the neighbors the photos of the condition your dog was left in by theirs, I'm sure their tone would change. Or just show them what kind of work had to be done from stitches to surgery because of the quote-unquote playing. And also, just in general, please socialize your dogs when they're a puppy, because my guess would be, and this is just weirdly common with golden retrievers, is that they're socialized with humans and super gentle with babies and humans and all that kind of stuff, so they get the impression of being a gentle giant, but around other dogs, they are fucking menaces. For some reason, I've noticed a lot of golden retrievers that have been poorly socialized and have just been extremely aggressive. Because the breed has the image of being a gentle giant breed, so most owners don't think they need to socialize their dogs because they just come naturally socialized. They don't. I'm not saying that the entire breed of golden retrievers are extremely aggressive, but I've noticed it's very common for people just to think that golden retrievers have a default soft as an angel setting, when chances are they'll be super nice to humans, but not to other dogs. So please, socialize your dogs. This doesn't just apply to golden retrievers either, this is across all breeds. I only specifically mention golden retrievers because they have the image of the gentle giant and, being such a great family pet that most people think they don't need to socialize them with other animals. And on a final note, you should 100% be responsible for any kind of damages your pet does. That's just common sense. And chances are, OP's neighbors are being fed some story of like, yeah, my dog and their dog were just playing and then suddenly they sue me over a $3,000 vet bill? Like, what was that about? I can almost guarantee that's the story that OP's neighbors are being fed. Lollyfly. Am I the asshole for telling my parents I'm allowed to resent the times they drag me to another state to do nothing so my step-siblings could see their family? When I, 17 female, was 5, my mom married my stepdad. My stepdad's first wife died a few years before that, and my step-siblings, 8, 10, and 11, back when my mom and stepdad got married. For the first year, they'd go to their maternal grandparents 2 or 3 times a year for a week and longer in the summer. But then, after the first year, my stepdad didn't want them to go alone, so my parents made the decision that we'd take a road trip and stay for as long as my step-siblings were visiting with their family. They'd stay with their grandparents whenever they visited, but saw a bunch of family. My mom, stepdad, and I would stay in these really cheap, tiny places, and we did nothing. Except my stepdad, who'd go to some place with Wi-Fi and work from his laptop, but that was it. The few times we'd see my step-siblings while we were there, it was obvious they were being spoiled. The thing that bothers me the most now that I'm older is that we didn't see them much, and they didn't stay in the same place as us, so all it did was rub in the fact that they had this family who loved them and spoiled them, and they got to have so much fun, and I was bored out of my mind and left waiting to drive back with them. I did get jealous. It wasn't so bad at first. I'd be a little jealous when they left and came back with stuff, or when they got all these extra birthday and Christmas gifts, but it wasn't all that extreme. But I got really resentful after a few years of staying in shitty places and doing nothing for weeks at a time while my step-siblings had a blast. My stepdad asked a few times if I could be included in places they'd visit, and my step-siblings' grandparents always said no. My stepdad didn't even ask privately. I'd hear him ask and hear the no. So it sucked even more, and I was embarrassed and hurt for a while. Then it got more awkward when my stepdad would join for a barbecue or lunch at the step-grandparents' house. We'd all go, and my stepdad's relationship with his first wife's family was weird, and those people couldn't have been more obvious that they didn't want us there. I was left watching kids play together while I was ignored, except for my mom and stepdad. My mom made excuses about why we did it, and she'd tell me it wouldn't last forever. When I got older, I pushed back on the weeks of my life spent like that, while my step-siblings got to have fun. My mom claimed the reverse was true, but she could never say when. I had no extended family. My dad bailed the second he found out mom was pregnant with me, and his family didn't want to get to know me either. We weren't wealthy, so I didn't do summer camps or extracurriculars. Maybe we could have afforded it if we weren't spending money on places to stay when my step-siblings went to their family. I'd hoped the end would come when my step-siblings moved out, but the year after the youngest one left, we still followed them out. This is only the second year we haven't done it, but my parents talk like they want to do it again. And the other day, when they were talking about it, I blew up and said I won't go with them again. We argued and they told me the resentment was unfair and I needed to let it go, that I don't have a good reason to resent them. I told them I'm allowed to resent them after they dragged me to another state in shitholes where I got to do nothing for weeks at a time. I told them they had no idea what it's like for a kid to go where they're not wanted and sit doing nothing while all the other kids get to have fun. My parents told me we do things for family sometimes. I said that was bullshit. Am I the asshole? So, because of the circumstances of this specific quote-unquote family vacation where OP is literally just left to be in some, what I could only assume to be possibly a hotel room for weeks on end with nothing to do, that's torture for a child. Especially if it's during like a school holiday like summer break where that's time that you could be spending with friends or just relaxing or just being a kid. Instead, you're kind of forced to be cooped up in, God knows where, with nothing to do for weeks on end. While, to make it even worse, your step-siblings are off having the goddamn time of their life. Like, that is incredibly unjust treatment. Like, the moment that the step-grandparents said no, that should have been the moment the line was drawn in the sand that it should just be, okay, so we're going to stay at home, and you the stepfather can go and take the kids across state lines and, have the little weird family thing. Because, I get not wanting the kids to go alone, but if they're sleeping with their grandparents and they're staying there, they're not really going alone. Maybe on the trip and traveling there, sure, but at the same time, why drag OP along? Why then just stay in a hotel room for weeks on end while you wait for them to have fun and subject your child to just being forced into boredom? I think OP has every right to feel resentment over this, and they have every right to be emotional, and honestly, their emotions are 100% justified. Because to add on to it, their mother is trying to gaslight them into going no, you really did enjoy it. No, you actually do enjoy this. But I guess the complication that it really comes down to is, can OP's parents trust a 17-year-old to be home alone for a week on end? They are almost an adult. I suppose it also depends on what kind of laws each state has, but either way, I think if OP's parents are really dead set on going on this trip and OP is just staunchly against it, they really should explore the idea of just going on their own. But, of course, I'd like to know what you think. Do you think that OP's overreacting to this situation? Do you think OP's justified? What's your opinion on leaving a 17-year-old home alone for a week? I'd be really curious to hear some additional opinions on this one. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.